Today we're diving into a critical issue, shaking North America's trade landscape. Canada, a key U.S. ally, is preparing to retaliate against proposed tariffs, a move that could disrupt deeply integrated supply chains in the automotive industry. Join us as we unpack 7 pivotal outcomes of Canada's bold response and explore how this escalating tension could reshape the future of the auto world and beyond. Canada is a key player in the U.S. automotive industry, with $24 billion in U.S. automotive goods exported north in 2023. Canadian tariffs on U.S.-made vehicles and parts could drive up production costs, leading to higher consumer prices and reduced demand. The tightly integrated supply chain, where parts often cross borders multiple times, would face severe disruptions resulting in delays and inefficiencies. Automakers might need to relocate facilities or seek alternative suppliers, incurring significant costs. States like Michigan, which exported $23 billion in goods to Canada, could see major economic fallout. The automotive sector, a job engine for thousands, risks layoffs and hardship in communities dependent on this trade. As tensions rise, the stakes for U.S. automakers and their workers couldn't be higher. Canada's retaliatory measures carry strong political implications, targeting industries in key U.S. states like Michigan to pressure policymakers by imposing tariffs on goods tied to manufacturing hubs. Canada could shift political dynamics in regions reliant on these industries. This mirrors strategies from past trade disputes such as Canada's 2018 tariffs on iconic American products like bourbon and motorcycles aimed at politically sensitive sectors. Domestically, Canada's political climate adds complexity, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's resignation. Leadership candidates like Chrystia Freeland are pushing firm stances on trade. Freeland's Tough on Tariffs platform reflects a broader national sentiment to counter perceived U.S. economic aggression. These moves underscore how trade policy intertwines with politics, showing that economic actions are often designed to achieve both political and strategic goals. Agriculture, a cornerstone of U.S. exports to Canada, is another sector bracing for impact. In 2023, the U.S. sent significant amounts of corn, soybeans, and orange juice north of the border. Tariffs on these goods would shrink their competitiveness, driving Canadian consumers to seek alternatives. For U.S. farmers, the consequences could be devastating. Lower demand in Canada might result in a domestic surplus, pushing prices down. Margins for farmers already operating on thin profits would shrink further. This could cascade into rural communities where agriculture is a lifeline, triggering unemployment and economic downturns. Moreover, a prolonged trade dispute could erode relationships with Canadian buyers. Once lost, market share is hard to reclaim, and it might take years to rebuild the trust necessary to resume previous trade volumes. Canada's energy exports, valued at $100 billion in 2023, are vital to the U.S. supplying oil, natural gas, and electricity. Northern U.S. states and refineries heavily depend on these resources, especially during peak demand. In escalating trade tensions, Canada holds significant leverage. While no official restrictions have been announced, limiting energy exports could trigger shortages, inflate prices, and strain infrastructure. The U.S. refining industry reliant on Canadian crude would face widespread ripple effects. This potential disruption underscores the critical role of energy in the U.S.-Canada trade relationship as a strategic tool. It gives Canada a powerful negotiating power capable of reshaping economic dynamics between the two nations. Canada's rich reserves of nickel, cobalt, and lithium are critical to the booming EV and renewable energy sectors. As the U.S. relies on these minerals to power its EV ambitions, any Canadian restrictions could disrupt the automotive and tech industries, driving up production costs and slowing EV development. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's a geopolitical one. With China dominating the market, losing Canadian supply would force U.S. industries to seek costly alternatives. Canada is also eyeing partnerships with the EU and South Korea, potentially bypassing the U.S. entirely. Such a shift would leave American automakers scrambling for raw materials, jeopardizing their global competitiveness. If Canada wields its mineral reserves as leverage, it could reshape trade dynamics and intensify economic tensions between these long-standing allies. The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA, designed to stabilize North American trade, is facing a major test. Canada's retaliatory tariffs could escalate disputes into lengthy legal challenges under the agreement's arbitration mechanisms, leaving businesses in uncertainty. If Canada perceives the USMCA as ineffective in safeguarding its interests, it could erode trust in the agreement and prompt exploration of alternative trade alliances, such as with the EU or China. This potential shift would strain the USMCA's credibility as a stabilizing framework and reshape North American trade relations. The long-term viability of the agreement could be at risk if it fails to resolve such high-stakes conflicts, effectively leading to significant economic and political consequences for all member nations. This escalating trade conflict between the United States and Canada transcends the issue of tariffs and reveals itself as a critical global case study. The ramifications of this standoff stretch far beyond the borders of North America, with implications that could redefine the way nations approach trade relationships and economic policies. Other countries currently grappling with United States trade pressures are closely observing how this dispute unfolds. If Canada's bold response is deemed effective, it could potentially embolden other nations to take a similar stand, challenging America's long-standing trade dominance. This could lead to a significant shift in the global trade paradigm, as countries realize that they, too, have leverage and might be more inclined to pursue assertive trade policies to counter perceived imbalances. A pivotal aspect of Canada's approach is its appeal to the World Trade Organization. This legal and diplomatic move carries immense weight. Should the World Trade Organization issue a ruling in Canada's favor, it could not only strengthen Canada's position, but also isolate the United States diplomatically on the global stage. A favorable decision might encourage other nations to follow suit, using legal avenues to challenge United States trade practices. Such actions would not only weaken the United States' influence over international trade policies, but could also open a floodgate of similar disputes as countries seek to hold the United States accountable. Beyond diplomacy, the economic implications of prolonged trade tensions are vast and multifaceted. Disruptions to global supply chains would be one of the most immediate and visible consequences. Industries ranging from automotive manufacturing to electronics would feel the ripple effects, with delayed production timelines, increased costs, and diminished market competitiveness. The tightly integrated nature of global supply chains means that even minor disruptions can have cascading effects, causing challenges not only for businesses directly involved, but also for consumers who rely on the affordability and availability of products made through international cooperation. Nations impacted by these shifts might be forced to adapt by forming new alliances and creating alternative trade routes. For instance, countries that have traditionally relied on the United States for certain goods or services may start seeking partnerships elsewhere, diversifying their trade networks to mitigate risks. This realignment could strengthen existing alliances such as those between Canada, the European Union, and South Korea, while simultaneously creating opportunities for emerging markets to step in and fill gaps left by U.S. trade disruptions. Over time, these adjustments could further complicate the global economic landscape as traditional trading partners drift apart and new trade dynamics emerge. The deeper issue here is the fragility of long-standing alliances and the interconnectedness of today's global economy. The United States and Canada have shared a close and mutually beneficial trade relationship for decades, underpinned by agreements such as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. However, this conflict underscores how quickly these bonds can be tested when national interests collide. The reliance of automakers, energy providers, and other industries on this relationship highlights the high stakes involved. The economic reverberations from even a partial breakdown in this partnership would extend far and wide, affecting not only the two nations involved, but also their trading partners and allies. At its core, this trade conflict raises critical questions about the future of international trade. Can Canada and the United States find common ground before the rift deepens further? Will this confrontation lead to the development of more balanced and equitable trade policies, or will it ignite a global shift in economic alliances? The answers to these questions will shape the future of not only North American trade, but also the broader global economy. If the United States and Canada are unable to resolve their differences, it could signal a more fragmented and competitive global trade environment, where nations prioritize self-interest over collective progress. As this high-stakes drama continues to unfold, the world watches with bated breath. The decisions made in the coming months will have far-reaching consequences, potentially altering the trajectory of international trade and diplomacy for years to come. The real question is whether this confrontation will serve as a catalyst for positive change or mark the beginning of a more fractured and contentious era in global economics. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think Canada's bold stance will inspire a new wave of global trade realignments, as other nations take note and follow suit? Or is this conflict just the beginning of a deeper economic rift that could destabilize alliances and reshape the world order? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to stay informed about the latest developments in this high-stakes trade standoff. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.